I think it's fair to say that the gaming market is somewhat flooded with Souls-like games at this point, with more to come in the future. Is that a good thing? Well, I suppose that depends on your point of view. It's no secret that I'm a huge fan of the genre, and I've put out a number of videos on the subject, much to the horror of some of my viewers. I'm only joking, of course, but yeah, these games aren't for everyone, and I do get that. The game we're talking about today is a bit of a departure from the norm in terms of its visual style. It's also got some good ideas, great music, and a haunting atmosphere. Unfortunately, I feel like it's just a little bit too rough around the edges for me to fully get into. I definitely didn't hate it, far from it in fact. It was worth playing through, and I'm glad that I got the chance to play it for review, but a couple of messy gameplay elements and some performance issues keep it back from greatness. So what is No Place for Bravery? Well, it's a top-down pixel art action RPG with some strong Sekiro and Souls-like DNA running through it. You play as Thorn, a retired warrior that now runs a tavern and suffers from recurring nightmares. One day he discovers a clue relating to his daughter that was taken from him many years ago. He sets out on a perilous journey with his disabled foster son in an effort to rescue his abducted daughter. The overarching theme of the game revolves around the idea of loss and the lengths that we might go to return things to the way they once were. According to what I've read, a lot of the heavy story threads are based on real-life situations that occurred in the developers' lives. Now obviously, they didn't actually run around a forest slaying monsters with a sword. Instead, what they did was adapt real-life traumas that they faced and built a dark fantasy world around them. The gameplay is advertised as Sekiro-like and requires the mastery of parries and deflections while still considering a stamina bar. It's not as difficult or as punishing as Sekiro, but needless to say, playing this game as if it were a hack and slash title will get you killed very quickly. At the beginning of the game, you can actually set the difficulty to make things a little bit easier on yourself, or go into the detailed settings and change various elements of the gameplay individually. These options include things like increasing the parry window, increasing your damage output, or giving yourself more stamina reserves. The core of the gameplay consists of reaching a checkpoint and then battling through the enemies towards the next checkpoint, in much the same way that you would in any other Souls-like. Praying at a checkpoint will restore your default healing items, but you can also acquire some consumable healing items from killing enemies, which when used, regen your health slowly over time. You're also able to purchase upgrades at the checkpoint if you have enough gold coins and a specific item which can be found somewhere in the world. The narrative will of course progress along with you from checkpoint to checkpoint. It'll periodically lead you to a boss or a mini boss fight, which usually requires you to exploit a specific game mechanic. The first main boss that you fight pretty much demands that you deflect their attacks over and over until you stagger them for easy damage. During combat, the 4 face buttons give you access to standard attacks, a quick dodge, your shield, and the ability to interact with objects or execute a downed enemy with a gruesome finisher. Enemies that can be executed have a white diamond over them. However, if you time your finisher correctly during the brief moment that the diamond is yellow, you'll perform a quick finisher which restores Thorn's stamina, helping to keep him in the fight. Clicking the left stick allows you to lock on, and as you progress you'll unlock some special attack skills which will be mapped to the left and right shoulder buttons. Using the D-pad will open up your bag, allowing you to check the world map, read the game's lore, or assign items to your quick slots. The quick slot items themselves are accessed by holding down the right trigger and pressing the appropriate face buttons. Lastly, you can press the left trigger to switch between your weapons, and you can tap the shield button to deflect enemy blows instead of holding it down to block them. No Place for Bravery is available on Nintendo Switch and PC via download on the 22nd of September 2022. Unfortunately, the only physical copy for the Nintendo Switch exists in Japan. However, it does have English language settings, so you could import it from somewhere like PlayAsia if that's an option for you. So what did I personally think of the game? Well, as I said in the intro, I do like a lot of what it's offering. It's just that, and this is just me, the combat looks and feels very chaotic and sloppy. It's got that feeling of no matter how good you are, you're gonna get hit anyway, which for me isn't a great feeling to have. Sadly, I don't really think there's a way to fix this issue because I believe it's a side effect of the art style and the viewpoint. A 2D side-scrolling game like Hollow Knight, Dead Cells or Blasphemous can be super precise and finely tuned due to the fixed 2D plane. But No Place for Bravery has omnidirectional movement with 2D characters. When you mix that with the detailed backgrounds and special effects, it's inevitably going to get muddled. It's just the way it is. To be fair, sometimes it's okay, when there's less happening on screen, but every so often it just looks like visual noise and I can barely tell what my character or the enemies are doing. It's a shame too because the combat is obviously a huge part of the game, and this is going to sound a little bit harsh, but if it wasn't for the excellent atmosphere, narrative and music, I probably wouldn't have bothered finishing it. I was playing this on the Nintendo Switch, and another problem that I ran into was the near constant stuttering. The aging console just doesn't seem up to the task of running this game consistently, which once again really drags down the enjoyment of it. I've obviously been playing the pre-release build of the game, so I will just point out that there could very well be a day one patch that helps to fix some of the issues that I've mentioned. As with my review of Potion Permit, I'm just reviewing the game that I was provided. I think I want to end this section with some positive stuff because at the end of the day, the developers have obviously put a lot of work and passion into this game, and I don't want to come across as if I hate it or anything because that simply isn't true. I think some people lose sight of the fact that developers are human beings and, they're not perfect. It can be difficult and stressful to create something you're proud of and put it out there on the internet for everyone to judge. So let me just say that I really did love the pixel art and the visual aesthetic of the entire thing. The music has genuinely stayed with me, some sections were really harrowing and some scenes were legitimately moving. The background lore is very well written as far as my tastes go, and I would absolutely read a novel or a graphic novel set in this universe. It's that interesting to me. I don't personally play games on PC, but from what I understand, the PC version does seem to run flawlessly, and if you have the option of playing it there, I really suggest that you do so. It won't fix all of the issues, but what it will do is make the game much more playable than it is on the Switch. In my opinion, No Place for Bravery is a haunting and surreal experience with great art direction that's sadly let down by clunky combat and performance issues on the Nintendo Switch. I'm going to be really direct here and just say that I loved everything the game had to offer, except for most of the combat and the stuttering. I was eager to learn more about the world, the visuals are beautifully creepy, and the story was helping to push me forward. Ultimately, I'm finding it really difficult to recommend the game to you on the Nintendo Switch. As I mentioned, I have recently looked at some PC footage of the game and I have to say, it looks so much sharper and seems to run as smooth as butter. The extra visual clarity really helps when combat becomes cluttered, and the stable frame rate is a very welcome addition indeed. I'm a console player through and through, but if you really want to enjoy this game in the best possible way, then I have to recommend that you go for the PC version without a doubt. If you enjoy the video, I really hope you'll consider subscribing, and if you like what I do and want to help support the channel, please check out the first link in the video description down below. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you next time.